Good morning. So today I have Raghav with us who studied from IIT, one of the top Indian universities that everyone knows about and is comparable to MIT in the US. Let's welcome Raghav on 10 Minutes of Hiring Wisdom, where he will tell us about where he's currently working, what he has learned along the way, and some of the tips that he has for job seekers out there. Hi, Raghav. How are you doing?
Hi, Miral. I'm well. How are you?
I am doing well. Thank you so much for joining us, Raghav. Can you tell us about your experience, how you got into IIT, first of all, and you're a gold medalist there. So, how was that like?
I think anyone who's listening from India, I think it's pretty straightforward. You just have to clear an exam, and if you, depending on the rank, you get into a whichever kind of admission program you want looking at. There are now, believe, a lot more IITs as well in the country, so probably, hopefully, more chances for people to get into an IIT and learn from there.
Okay. And where are you currently working? What your role is within the company, Raghav?
Yeah, so I'm a product lead at Intuit. I'm based out of the Mountain View, like the headquarters here, and of course everything is remote and work from home for some time. But at least I what I'm leading is building out one of the capabilities, as I like to call it, Uber for financial experts. So depending on the needs, be it tax, be it bookkeeping, be it financial advice, um, Intuit, if for people who don't know, is also the owner and maker of products like TurboTax, QuickBooks, Mint, Credit Karma, and more recently Mailchimp, which came as an acquisition. So any of all these products are towards making sure they can help in the financial prosperity of people around the world. But products themselves may not be able to give you all the answers or softwares. So we need experts to be supplementing that. And if you need to find experts, it's almost like saying, I want an expert at this point who can solve this particular need. So that's kind of why I call it an Uber for financial experts, because then that platform makes sure that if you as a customer require some help with financial planning, then you would might go to a Mint Live expert, or if someone else wants to get additional help from a tax standpoint, which TurboTax's software itself might not cover all of those. I really needed that as an immigrant on a separate visa. I had specific needs, specific requirements. I could talk to someone, but how do I connect those two things? That's where my product comes in. So I spent like nearly a year now, less than a year into it, and it's been great.
That sounds amazing. I didn't know about TurboTax being a part of your specific company because I think TurboTax, I'm an international student as well, and I hate tax season. So it
Yeah.
definitely saved my life during filing taxes, making sure that the numbers were correct just because I didn't want to get deported from the US because the tax system here sucks. So I can definitely relate and understand that. And I think I did struggle, and live support definitely did help during those times. And it's amazing to see that you're working on such a product. So Raghav, just curious, how is the product making like going? Like there's a lot of steps involved, like ideation, iteration. So is are you involving customer feedback yet? What are the steps that you are taking within creation of the product itself?
Yeah, so in a typical product, there's never a done and finished world. There's always like you iterate, you keep improving, you make changes. So when I joined the team, they were probably what I would say is one level above the MVP stage or the minimum viable product, where they had something they knew was working, the demand was great. We uh, we processed we processed and helped people file over $1 billion in returns
Wow.
just from the live part, a lot more through purely from TurboTax standpoint. So when I look at that, there's a huge demand for the product. So we had like a initial understanding of it, but obviously it wasn't built to scale. It was built for probably maybe 1,000 experts coming in, or maybe a 1/10 or 1/100th of the demand. So as we scale, a lot of things have to be revised, a lot of things have to be understood. My core customer is my financial expert. I want them to have a wonderful experience where Intuit becomes the expert network of choice. So we do what we call in Intuit follow me homes. So literally, like it's like saying, if Manuel, you were an expert, how would you use our systems to serve the end customer? And we understand, okay, these are your pain points. We try to understand, try to come up with ideas which we want to have a delightful experience. Run focus groups and test that, right? So it's always customer driven. The customer obsession is a is a key tenet for us as a value for us. And then it's a function of, once you know there's a problem, then you know you size them by the impact on what is most important for the customer, and then we kind of figure out, okay, we have to prioritize them. So a quote I often use is, uh, a no does not, I mean, it's not a no, it's just a not now. So it may not happen now, but it may happen subsequent months because you're going to be strapped by resources. So it's a kind of a constant juggling of balls, if I have to call it, because you have different stakeholders, you have your engineering team, you have your customers, um, making sure the things are in sync, and then most importantly, communicating it out, right? So that's kind of what my day-to-day thing is. So we it's not like we making, even one of my friends who works at Instagram, he mentions even adding a like button on some place requires so much coordination, because you're taking up space elsewhere in the on the screen. It should not break something else. So making sure to launch some of that in a larger company, it takes a lot more time and effort. In startups, in a smaller company, it probably is much faster, and you have a little more leeway and advantage just by the stage of the company.
Okay, it's like a jigsaw, isn't it? All the pieces have to go together and succinct, so to make sure that the product itself
Yeah.
works together. But I'd be curious to know, so you studied at IIT and now you're working in a product-centric role. How was your journey like? Did you always know you'd end up in such a role, or did you take different courses along the way? What was your journey
It's a
like?
great question. So I think when we were studying in undergrad, I don't think product manager or product management was like a well-defined path, right? This was probably like 10 years back. And it was like coming up and coming. People were knowing about it because, most important, like someone like Sundar Pichai, also an IIT alumnus, was like a famous product manager, and like Google was hiring a bunch of those things. So we had heard of those things, but we never really knew what we would do. Um, I think for me, building something or creating something has been core to what I like doing. I paint, I do artworks, and for me, it's like creativity, and I create coming up with some things, um, and I do love like solving customer problems. So I think, from if I think of that, that's kind of like from an engineering mindset, problem solving becomes core. Now, if we apply that to specifically saying, would I have, if you asked me 10 years back, would I have been looking, I would not have known, honestly. But what has been key to all of this is just a very strong data driven analytical mindset, having some hypothesis to test, and then and being able to formulate that into something people can work off, like as a work plan, work stream, and making sure, and then it's a bit of a management to make sure things happen, right? Often there are the jokes and memes around, projects being overrun by budget, overrunning the budget, delayed on time, and bunch of and not delivering the impact. So those are typical software projects, and it needs to make sure that it needs to come here. I think the difference is, of course, to your question on how did that transition happen. As an engineering background, so data-driven analytic mindset is quite natural. I got an MBA in between, so because I felt it's helpful to get that business fundamentals right, and from an engineering perspective. So um, then I think after the MBA, I joined McKinsey, again a great place for problem solving and getting the analytical, I mean, double diving on the analytical rigor. Oh, sorry. Analytical rigor,
No
and
worries.
also on making sure that you are able to um convince teams and like tell the story to make sure people come along in the journey. Otherwise, it just becomes a case of facts.
Okay, so it makes sense. I mean, I love the fact that you ended up where you took a certain pathway and then you ended up in a certain way. Because I think Harvard MBA, studying engineering at first, then getting your business fundamentals correct is the reason why you ended up in such a position that involves both engineering and product management. So I'm glad it worked out for you. The last question for you, Rag, would be: is your company hiring, considering you company comprises of a
Yeah,
lot of other companies. You recently
acquired.
merged
We
with
didn't
another
merge with
company.
them.
What roles are open? Acquired, sorry, acquired. You recently acquired Mailchimp. So what other companies? What roles are open? What kind of people are you looking forward to join your company? Can you elaborate a
Yeah,
little more
I
on
mean,
that?
honestly, there are always like roles open. There are like many. I would say, not just from an acquisition standpoint, but I think in general, Intuit is becoming more of a services-driven company. So it's growing larger and larger with every single day. And there are obviously many roles open. I think, be it product management, be it engineering, because at the core of still that financial services market, we still have to have like strong engineering background to kind of drive that. Anyone who has There's like a large customer success team, which is growing again because by virtue of being a services or pivoting to a services model, you need to have a customer success team which kind of takes care of the overall customer journey. So all of these three like teams are like hiring crazily, and I think by virtue of having something like Mailchimp or Credit Karma and a bunch of other products, there will be need for, I guess, like marketing to make sure that a lot more small business customers start using our core products, and even day-to-day customers, if be it taxes or mint. I think there's a lot more happening on that front. So uh, I would be surprised if you're not hiring, but there's way too much hiring. Is just that too difficult to point out where specifically? On my team, of
No
course, we
worries.
are hiring. Still hiring for like fairly senior product managers, who have had like product management experience, or have worked in a similar industry before, just by the nature of work that's available. And we the sooner and faster we hire them, then the workload on the remaining team members comes down a bit.
Well, you heard it from Raghav. If you're interested into product management and you have a career, and if you have that drive specifically, you might want to reach out to me, and I could definitely forward your resume to Raghav. But other than that, Raghav, our time is up. It was an absolute pleasure learning about you, your journey, how you ended up at this company specifically, and just about your team, your company, and the work that it's
Thank you,
doing.
Mayur,
Thank you so
and good
much.
luck to you and the rest of the members. See you.